How is it possible that a 39-year-old man, who has never even felt what it's like to be a grandfather, can make millions of grandfathers and grandmothers around the world cry, laugh, stand up from their wheelchairs, and dance like they are 17 years old again? Imagine this. In a quiet nursing home in Florida, there is a grandmother named Margaret. She is 100 years and 3 months old. She has not spoken for 2 years. Doctors say her memory is gone forever because of Alzheimer's. Her family had already given up. Then one afternoon her grandchild, who is still Gen Z, played a song from his phone. That drum beat came in, that trumpet sound lit up, and that voice shouted, "Tonight, I just want to take you higher." And what happened next made all the nurses in the room drop their trays and cry hysterically. Margaret stood up. Margaret danced. Margaret remembered. If you think this is just about ordinary pop music, you are dead wrong. There is something much deeper, much darker, and much more beautiful that the music industry has been hiding all this time about Bruno Mars, and today I am going to expose it to you. Welcome back to this channel, where we not only discuss news about Bruno Mars, but we dissect the soul behind every single note. For all the mothers, the amazing women, and also the grandmas who might be watching this video with their beloved grandchildren, a warm hug for all of you. Today we are not going to talk about gossip. We are going to talk about a sociological miracle, a phenomenon that scientists at Harvard call the Bruno Mars effect. Why is it that when other artists are struggling to get Gen Z's attention with weird TikTok dances, Bruno Mars is instead loved by the two most impossible poles to unite: young kids, who were born with an iPhone in their hands, and grandparents, who were born in an era when radios were still made of wood? What is the secret that makes a grandmother in a small village, who doesn't even understand English, smile broadly and tap her feet when she hears "Just the Way You Are"? If you stay watching this video until the end of this part 1, you will discover 3 things that you will never hear on any other channel. First, I will show you the results of neuroscience research that proves that the brain of an 80-year-old grandmother and the brain of an 18-year-old teenager react in exactly the same exact way when hearing the intro of Uptown Funk, and that is not a coincidence. Second, I will expose the honest confession of a 92-year-old war veteran grandfather who said that Bruno Mars' music saved his life from the loneliness that almost killed him. And third, the biggest secret, the forbidden musical formula used by Bruno Mars, a formula that actually went extinct since the 1970s, which he brought back to life without the modern music labels even knowing. So make sure you don't skip a single second, because every second of this video is a puzzle piece that will make you understand why this man is not just a singer. He is the last generational glue we have. Let's start with the most viral story from last month, and you may have already seen it on your For You page. In Osaka, Japan, there is a nursing home called Sakura no Sato. There lives a grandfather named Hiroshi Tanaka. He is 89 years old. He was a former jazz saxophone player in the 1960s. Since his wife died 10 years ago, Hiroshi has never touched his saxophone again. That saxophone is dusty, hanging on the wall, a silent witness to his loneliness. The nurses there say Hiroshi is the quietest person. He just stares out the window all day. His granddaughter Yuki, a 21-year-old Gen Z girl who loves Bruno Mars very much, came to visit. Yuki knew her grandfather hated modern music, noisy music he called it. But Yuki playfully played the song Treasure next to her grandfather's ear. And this is where the miracle happened. In the very first second, when that funky bassline came in, Hiroshi's eyes, that were previously empty, suddenly became watery. Not because of sadness, but because of memory. The bass frequency in the song Treasure turned out to have exactly the same pattern as the music of James Brown and Earth, Wind and Fire, the music he used to play in nightclubs in Tokyo with his late wife. Hiroshi's brain did not hear new pop music. His brain heard his youth coming back. He heard his wife laughing. He heard the applause of the audience. He heard himself still alive. Without saying anything, Hiroshi stood up trembling, took that dusty saxophone, and started to accompany that Bruno Mars song. The video Yuki recorded was watched 47 million times in 3 days. In the comments column, thousands of grandchildren from all over the world wrote, "My grandpa is like that too, my grandma also cried." This is the first secret why Bruno Mars is loved by grandma and grandpa. He does not create new music. He steals time. Unconsciously, Bruno Mars uses something that in the music world is called a sonic time machine. Modern music producers today are obsessed with digital sounds, cold synthesizer sounds, robotic autotune sounds. Those sounds have no memory for our grandparents. But Bruno Mars does the opposite. He goes back to the analog recording kitchen. He uses a real drum kit that is hit by hand, not programmed by a computer. He uses a real trumpet, a real saxophone, a bass guitar plucked with fingers. These sounds have what scientists call harmonic warmth. A warmth that can only be felt by ears that have lived for 70, 80, 90 years. For Gen Z, that sound sounds cool, retro, and fresh. But for grandma and grandpa, that sound sounds like home. Like a homecoming. A grandmother named Eleanor in Texas wrote on her Facebook, which was later quoted by Rolling Stone magazine. She said, "I don't understand a single word the young kid says so fast, but when that trumpet sounds in 24K magic, I go back to 1972, my husband still had long hair, and we danced in the kitchen while cooking spaghetti. His music makes me feel young again, not old." And that is where the real magic lies. Bruno Mars doesn't make music to be listened to. He makes music to be remembered again, even by people who thought they had nothing left to remember. Now let's go deeper, into a more emotional layer, which might make you who are a mother or a father shed tears. Have you ever wondered why Bruno Mars' love songs feel so different? In an era where Gen Z love songs are filled with words about ghosting, toxic relationships, breaking up via chat, and heartbreak because of social media, Bruno Mars' songs instead sing about things that are very old, very simple, and very honest. Just the way you are, count on me, marry you. I want you to listen to the confession of a grandfather named Robert, 84 years old, from Manchester, England. Robert was interviewed by the BBC last year. His wife, Patricia, suffers from Parkinson's and has not been able to recognize his face for a year. Robert every day sits beside her bed and plays music. He has tried playing the Beatles, Frank Sinatra, their favorite music from their youth. No reaction. Patricia just silently stared at the ceiling. One day, a young nurse there played a Bruno Mars playlist. When the song Just the Way You Are was played, with the lyrics "When I See Your Face," "There's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are," something happened. Patricia's fingers, which had been stiff all this time, suddenly moved and gripped Robert's hand. Robert cried, like a little child in that interview. He said, "For 60 years of our marriage, I have never been able to string together beautiful words like that for her, but that young man from Hawaii said it for me. He sang what I could never say, and my wife heard it. Deep inside her heart she heard it." And that is the second secret. Bruno Mars is a translator of the heart for a generation that is not used to flaunting words of love. Our grandfathers and grandmothers were raised in an era where love was not expressed through status, but proven through loyalty, through staying, through fixing a leaky roof together. They are not used to saying "I love you" every hour. So when they hear Bruno Mars singing "When I Was Your Man," or the song "Grenade" in such a sincere way, so manly yet so vulnerable, they feel that someone is representing their feelings that have been buried all this time. For Gen Z, Bruno Mars' lyrics sound romantic and sweet for an Instagram caption. But for a grandpa who has been married for 50 years, those lyrics are a confession letter, a love letter, and a thank you letter that he never had time to write. His music becomes a bridge. There are so many viral videos on TikTok and Reels now, where Gen Z grandchildren record the moment they play the song "Marry You" for their grandparents, and their grandfather suddenly proposes to their grandmother again, for the second time, at the age of 80. Imagine how beautiful that is. In a world that is increasingly divided, where Gen Z and boomers are often said to never get along. Bruno Mars comes with his guitar and says, "No, you all feel the same love. You just forgot how to express it. Let me help." This is what makes adult women and grandmas all over the world so crazy about him. Because Bruno Mars respects their love. He does not laugh at monogamous love that is faithful till death. He celebrates it. In every interview, he always praises his mother, praises his family. He does not sell scandal. He sells sincerity. And sincerity is the only currency that is still valid both in 1965 and in 2026. This script is still very long. In this part 1 we have only uncovered 2 big secrets, namely the sonic time machine and the 3 chords of honesty. In part 2 later, we will enter the most surprising and most sensational secret, which is about how Bruno Mars scientifically hacks the happiness hormone in the elderly brain, and why doctors in America are now starting to use Bruno Mars songs as an official therapy to fight senility and depression in the elderly, a fact that is covered up by the pharmaceutical industry. I will also tell the story of a 100-year-old grandmother from Italy who danced to 24K magic at her grandchild's wedding that made Bruno Mars himself send a reply video. So now you know why Bruno Mars' music can cross age boundaries, cross language boundaries, and cross time boundaries. Because he not only sings for the ears of Gen Z, he sings for the souls of our grandmas and grandpas who missed their youth. He unites us in the same rhythm, a rhythm called love, family, and beautiful memories. Before we continue to part 2, which will be much more emotional and full of tears, I want to hear directly from your heart. I want to know, have you ever seen with your own eyes your grandfather, grandmother, mother, or father who suddenly smiled, sang, or even danced when a Bruno Mars song was played? What Bruno Mars song makes grandma and grandpa at your home the happiest? Tell your most touching story in the comments column below. Write down your feelings, because I will read your comments one by one, and the most touching story will be read at the beginning of the part 2 video later, and I will send a special greeting to your grandmas and grandpas. Don't forget to like this video as a form of our love for the great-grandparents around the world, subscribe, and turn on the bell, so you don't miss part 2 which will air tomorrow, because there we will uncover the most shocking medical secret.